Hi there, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I think this is going to be a real interesting video today. And there was a law enforcement officer that contacted me on Facebook. His name was Kevin Kahn out of Odessa, and he suggested, or actually told me, to go down the street to the Fairmont Park Church of Christ and snoop around. Okay, and that was a clue, as in something was connected to that church, as in the crimes that is going on at this house and in this neighborhood. And so I'm going to show you that print screen I have of that. And then also between 2015 and 2017, multiple times my dash cam recorded large groups of police at that church, at that Fairmont Park Church of Christ. And one of the big questions is if the police that were there were the same ones that were the secret police, the ones that we couldn't get identified for 6 or 7 years, and the ones believed to be under my home, and possibly the ones that tried to murder me in my home. And then one other thing is I have that video that my security camera caught of a guy being chased down my alley by a car and put into the trunk of that car under gunpoint, and he was coming from the direction of that church. And I'm going to show you that. And so I'm not making any accusations here. I'm stating facts, asking questions, some very important questions, and that need to be answered. And I'm also going to back off, and I'm going to do some history here to show you how big this is. We're talking about, it's not a lot bigger than just me transferring into town. It looks like there's multiple murders connected with this $1 million underground facilities. And so I'm going to all do that, and I'm going to try to do that quickly and show you the evidence. So here, let me switch over to the evidence side, and I'll show you what I got. Okay, this is a timeline that I drew up, and of course this is not everything, but it's going to kind of give me something to go off of, and I'm just going to go through it real quickly, and then I'm going to show you this evidence. July 12, 2008, this was before I even moved here. Irene Escobar Sanchez is reported missing from Odessa. It's the question been asked if he was one of the people that was killed in this house. October 12, 2008, previous homeowner Michael Lawhon dies in two different towns under mysterious circumstances. It is suspected he died here and was taken to Fort Worth. October 20th, 2008, the 2008 Permian Basin International Oil Show starts, and I put that in there because it was the week after Michael Lawhon died, and I think that's significant there. There's probably a connection with the timing of his death, Mike's death, in that oil show, especially with prostitution parties going on in the underground facilities, etc. Okay. Moving on 2 years, October 25th, 2010 Permian Basin International Oil Show starts, and that's when I was told about the young girl that was murdered who refused to prostitute at the, and high-level police were there. It's believed to be in the underground facilities near my home. October 28, 2010, Michael Williams dies from Odessa. He died on the last day of the 2010 oil show, and a stalker used his name and picture to contact me in 2018. Questions been asked, and Michael Williams had a connection to the young girl that died in the oil show parties. Okay, November 9th, 2010, and this wasn't much longer after the oil show party, my first call for a burglary. Wasn't somebody in the attic, I just recognized somebody's in my house. January 8th, 2011, 2 months later, it was my second call for a burglary. Remember, that's a felony, and heard somebody in my attic that time. Now, homeowners all over Midland, Odessa, Texas, and multiple other states are documented reporting people in the attic. I believe it's connected to a human trafficking ring, probably the same one operating here out of this area in Midland, Odessa. January 28, 2012, I'm ambushed and shot by somebody under my home. Now, remember, this is a year later, and a burglar alarm was going off in my attic. I had reported somebody in my attic a year earlier. 5 police were here listed on the police report, but they're not seen arriving on the camera. I'm gonna show you the evidence on that. They're suspected maybe being the would-be killers, the shooters, etc., and that explained why the police report was hidden for 6 or 7 years, and it's been unprecedented lawlessness and obstruction of justice that's still going on to this day. September 8, 2015, 6 police officers seen at the Fairmont Park Church of Christ. I mentioned that earlier. May 10, 2016, large amount of police cars at the Fairmont Park Church of Christ. August 7, 2016, person chased down my alley from the direction of the church and put in the trunk under gunpoint. August 19, 2016, Rhonda Denman Rogers tells me that underground facility is a half block away from my home here. December 5th, 2016, law enforcement officer Kevin Kahn tells me to go look around the church for clues. I'm going to show you a print screen on that. December 6th, 2016, Aaron Packer-Holford asked me if I knew the names of the 4 people who were murdered, died here in my home. I didn't, but obviously he does, and obviously I was supposed to be the 5th person. We're going to try to name some of them. December 13th, 2016, large amount of police cars at Fairmont Park Church of Christ, and which is about a half block away. Remember, Rhonda said about a half block away. And then December 13th, Fairmont Park Church of Christ. January 10th, large amount of police cars at the Fairmont Park Church of Christ. So these were all caught on my dash camera, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. Okay. And what I want to do here, I want to start with the first one here. This is this guy contacted me just off Facebook. Kevin Kahn, he was an Ector County law enforcement officer, and he sent me this picture of the Fairmont Park Church of Christ right here. And he says, "What is that building?" And I said, "Did you see the chase in the alley videos?" "Yes, I did." And he says, "Sounds like you need to go to that church and look around." So you know, and I said, "I can only do so much, you know, as a citizen, and that's private property." And he's telling me churches don't have no trespassing sign. You're not trespassing until you're told you're trespassing. So basically, this law enforcement officer is strongly suggesting that I go look around at that church for clues into the crimes here, which is the capital attempted murder and other suspected murders, multiple murders. And so Rhonda Denman Rogers, and she contacts me also on Facebook. We're talking on a private message. I told her my home's sitting on some top of some kind of underground facility. The ex-wife was the first person that had mentioned that. Now multiple people have. And she says, "Yes, I know. It's a half block away." Okay, that church is a half block away. That's one reason I put that in there. And I'm going to show you a map on that actually on my next screen. This is it. You go to Google Maps, 3802 Fair Circle. This is the 10,000 foot view. And if we zoomed in here, okay, you can see my house. So I was ambushed and shot inside my house right there. And on the back side is the Home Depot, Midland Home Depot. Okay, and that yellow line is an alley behind my home. And you just follow this alley down there, and it goes right to the Fairmont Park Church of Christ. Okay, and you're going to see that you know, that's within about half a block away or so, and that's where I seen a whole bunch of cars, and you know, and also had a woman recorded on the phone, told me there are 4 3-bedroom homes, 25 foot deep, each costing over $1 million each. It's suspected these are where the famous and wild oil show parties are put on, prostitution, drug parties by the rich and famous, by the wealthy oil field people. Anybody in this part of the country knows about it. International oil shows, and of course it's not uncommon to have big prostitution events for large conventions, international conventions. Interesting, across the street from my home, the brother-in-law of Congressman Mike Conaway used to live. And this is one home that was suspected of maybe having one of the underground homes because it had the same mortar problem as mine did. I think it's 3900 Westmont Court, and it is also about a half block away too, you know. And then there's so much other stuff on here, you know, where you can look on the historical map where it looks like tunnels were cut coming out of the back of Home Depot, suspecting maybe people were parked in front of Home Depot, going underground there, coming over here, and then I was told about the young girl being murdered. And then it looks like on Google Maps where a large facility is my backyard, one of them 4 underground homes. And I'm going to show you that next. And of course, I'm focusing on this one, pretty much on this church and the police officers. This is Google Maps. You can just go to maps.google.com, put in my address, 3802 Fair Circle. And if you switch between the block map and the satellite map, you'll notice that there's a large underground facility that shows to be right in my backyard, but it's not there if you know, seen from above ground. Okay, and so I'm wonder if that little girl I was talking about being murdered in 2010 at the oil show party was murdered right there in my backyard. And then all the burglaries and thefts and the crimes and the murder attempt of my life, the suspected murder last homeowner, maybe Rini Escobar Sanchez, and I was told 4 people murdered, died in this house, all connected to this underground facility. Y'all can go look that up for yourself. Okay, and then this one here. This was from a local Mason here in Midland. And he asked me if I knew the names of the 4 people who were murdered, died in my house. But if I can ask you, there were 4 people who were murdered, died in your house. What are their names? His name was Aaron Packelhofer. Well, evidently, Aaron Packelhofer knows their names, or he wouldn't ask me, right? And he didn't say 3 names. He didn't say 7 names. He said 4. He knew exactly how many people have been murdered, died in my house. He knew when I don't know. And law enforcement should be asking Aaron Packelhofer, who them names are. And so, and I laid this out by the timestamps, and here we at the previous neighbor, a former neighbor, Marilyn DeLuigi, lived right across the street. She told me twice that Mike Lawhon, the previous owner, died in this house, but she said somebody else died here before him. And 3 months before Mike Lawhon died, Rini Escobar Sanchez was reported missing from Odessa on July 12, 2008. This was before I even moved here, but because Marilyn DeLuigi told me that, I've wondered, if this man's never been found, I've wondered if he was one of the ones that was one of the 4 that was killed here. Okay. And then Mike Lawhon dies a couple weeks before I transferred town to buy this home from the widow. You can do a Google search just for his name, Michael Lawhon, Odessa American. That's a newspaper over in Odessa. And you'll see they posted 2 death notices for him. The first death notice was posted on October 14, 2008, and they said that he died in Fort Worth. Okay, he was 27 years old, died in Fort Worth, and died on October 12th, actually. Okay, and then they changed the death notice, posted a second revised death notice, and posted it on October 18th, 2008, and changed the location of death to say he died at his residence. And that's the same thing that Marilyn DeLuigi told me, is that Mike Lawhon died here at this house. His death certificate says he died in Fort Worth. I believe he was murdered here, taken to Fort Worth, and then this home was sold to cover up the crimes here, and this home was sold to the next unsuspecting sucker that just happened to be moving from out of town. That would be me. Okay. And then 2 years later, I figured out crime was going on. They set me up to kill me. This is the schedule for the 2008 Permian Basin International Oil Show, and I have it here because I'm going to show it started on October 20th, 2008. Mike Lawhon died on October 12th, 2008, 1 week before. And I think that is very significant timing because it's believed that the oil show parties were going on in the underground facilities, and that's where the little girl was murdered in 2010. So I wanted to show you that, okay? And then I'm going to move on to actually show you the 2010 schedule, Permian Basin International Oil Show schedule, and it started on October 25th, 2010, and it ended on October 28th. And this was the week that my friend that I worked with, Clay Dessa, told me about the young girl who was murdered at the oil show after she refused to prostitute. I tried to get her to report that murder, and she was afraid and told me that high-level police were there. I suspected, I feel really strongly some of the police that were there are the same ones that were at my house. I couldn't get identified for 7 years, and maybe the same ones that were believed to be under my house when I was shot. And so look at them dates there, because I'm going to show you something else here. That here last year, this stalker gets this guy Michael Sean Williams. He died 39 years old in Odessa on October 28, 2010. That was the last night of that oil show over there, okay? And I even talked to his widow, Timber, or something like that, Williamson or something. And she said that they were separated that week, so she couldn't confirm where he was, that he worked for DNR or something, services, who had a booth at the oil show. And so what I was wondering here all this time, if this guy is connected to the death of the young girl at the oil show. And she tells me that he committed suicide on that October 28th as the police were fixing to arrest him for a probation violation. But here was the Facebook profile, and law enforcement could go look this up and get the IP address of this, use that URL and find out who this stalker is, because he was committing crimes by harassing me, and I'm the victim of a capital attempted murder. That's tampering with a witness. And here was our 6 mutual friends, and I suspect one of them know who the real Michael Williams is, because remember, this stalker took this guy's obituary's name and picture and created a fake Facebook profile and contacted me. And I think it was a clue, because the guy died on the last day of that oil show. Okay. And so I want to throw that in. Okay. It was only a month later that I made my first call and reported a burglary at my house. That was my day one, November 9th, 2010, And here I found a sliding glass door open. I thought maybe they ran out. That door hadn't been open 6 months, and when I got home, the door was open. So, these were the police that were on that first call that night, And interesting on the very first call here, I'm a 27-year company man, never had a felony, and I'll report a burglary, and they're already calling me 1096, and so questions been asked if they were already setting me up, defaming my character, getting ready to kill me because I reported crime to them, and that, because that's really what it looks like, is the premeditated capital murder attempt of my life was because I was reporting crimes that corrupt police were involved in. Okay. 2 months later, I made my second call for a burglary. That's a felony, January 8, 2011. That time I heard somebody in my attic. Okay, well, I thought I had them trapped in my attic. I didn't know at the time the extent of this home being rigged and all the money in there. And of course, I had guns. And here's the police. Interesting. Michael Chandler, that was the husband of April Chandler. She was one of the secret police heavily involved on the night of the murder attempt. And there's some of the other police officers who were here this night. I tried to get them to go up my attic and look. They refused. I asked them to stay here while I went up there. They refused. And once again, I was also called 1096. The defamation of my character and the slander, and maybe even the preparation to murder me was already started. Okay, and then we're gonna get into the night of the murder attempt on my life, January 28, 2012. It's time stamped on my security camera at 10:42. I'm crawling out. The reason I didn't call is because they cut my phone lines before they shot me. Okay, stole my cell phone and cut my phone lines. It was a miracle that I'm alive. They planned my death, and as I already showed you, I believe that we find out the same people who tried to murder me are going to be the same ones that did murder the last guy that lived here. Okay. And so at 10:42, that's really important, okay? And then the cameras showed the first police car showing up here, okay? Right there, that's what it looks like. Time stamped right there at 11:01, 19 minutes after I crawled out and left, first police car showed up. Second police car shows up, and that looks like a unmarked white Crown Vic right there, okay? And couldn't get them identified. I had no police report for this night. It was hidden from me, the police report. Offered a $2,000 reward. First time in the history of America, a crime victim offered a reward to get police identified. And 6 years later, Empire Private Investigation identifies all 11 of the police. The first two here was, the first one showed up was a Martin County Sheriff, John Woodward. This is Midland County. Nobody's ever explained why a sheriff from a different county was at my home minutes after I survived a premeditated murder attempt. And he was followed by the late Midland Sheriff, Midland County Deputy Mike Naylor. And Naylor died in October 2014. And so we can't talk to him, ask him questions. And then another secret police died 2 months after him. The timestamps on there, 11:01. Keep that in mind. And the other thing here, when I did finally get the police report, found that it was withheld all this time, all them years. Their names are not even on it. Woodward and Naylor. And so this is just outright lawlessness. Okay. 19 minutes later, my front cameras that caught Naylor and Woodward arriving are disabled. Nobody else was seen showing up. And basically, this camera was watching the yard at 11:22, and then just a few seconds later, it's watching the wall. They rotated the camera to look at the wall. And then obviously it was the corrupt police that were here that did that. And I suspect it was Woodward and Naylor that did that. Okay, and I've got my front cameras disabled 11:22, 21 minutes after Woodward and Naylor were seen arriving. Nobody else was seen arriving, but MPD officers Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale were listed on the police report as being at or inside my home. This is what told me they were under my home and somebody under my home had shot me. Okay, so that's the reason we're going over this and looking at and making a point on these timestamps. The cameras were disabled at 11:22. The only people seen arriving was Woodward and Naylor. Okay, and 6 years later, a reward offered, Empire Private Investigation. This is actually right from my text message. All them words come from my private investigator as he was telling me the names. Tony Dickey, Greg Chatwell, Greg Nelson, Marty Barrett, Chad Simpson, Mike Naylor, Mark Gilliam, Michael Glipp, John Woodward. And then we already knew that Rosie Rodriguez and April Chandler were here because they were recognized. These were the inside camera. They had tried to disable that camera and accidentally started it. And that was just another miracle, and here was from the video of the first two police showed up, and now we know it was Naylor and Woodward. Okay, and so that was posted more times than I count, with the reward offered. And then earlier this year, I get a hold of the police report from the night of the murder attempt, 1/28/12. It would have been subpoenaed in 2013 for the protective order hearing and was illegally withheld. And the reason is because it was heavily falsified and didn't have all the names and the timestamps, I mean, it really messed them up. They got caught on camera, and my security cameras was showing how they were lying and they were literally covering up a premeditated capital attempted murder. That's what they were doing. I parsed this out so to make it easier for you to look at and laid it out here. This is and basically I showed the timestamps for when I crawled out at 10:42. Naylor and Woodward showed up at 11:01, and then at 11:03 Tony Dickey is on scene. Matt Davis is on scene. Okay, this Midland police officer, he was a sheriff. Dickey was a lieutenant. Okay, I put this one backer because they called for Joe Ramirez as a backer, and I left that in because he never reported as on scene, but he cleared later, so I suspected he was here, and he just not listed as on scene. So it's probably 6 police officers that were here, okay, instead of 5. But Joe Ramirez was dispatched, just never listed on the police report as being on scene. This miscellaneous was Tony Dickey inside my house. No one in the house. Inside, lots of odd things like booby traps. There was no booby traps in the evidence logs. There was no booby traps, period. That was a lie. And that shows Dickey was in my house at 11:05. Keep in mind, Naylor and Woodward showed up at 11:01, and the cameras were disabled 11:22, and nobody else was seen arriving. So how did Lieutenant Dickey get inside my house at 11:05? And the obvious answer is he come from the underground trapdoor entrance the wife told me about, and from where I had been ambushed and shot. Somebody had shot me without warning, directly in an artery from point blank range with my phone lines cut. People's been asking if Lieutenant Tony Dickey is the would-be killer that sneaked into my home and tried to kill me. And other evidence shows there was a trap burglar at the time, so maybe he was trying to he was working with the burglar and trying to free the trap burglar and shooting the crime victim and homeowner. Okay, Greg Chatwell, he's here at 11:18. Remember, 11:22 is when the camera's disabled. He wasn't seen arriving. Kenny Angel, he was on scene 11:18. He wasn't seen arriving out front. And Dylan Hale was here at 11:19, and he wasn't seen. And that's how come I'm always saying it's Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale listed at or in my home. They're not seen arriving. And so if they were under my home or part of the murder party, I mean, they need to be questioned and or arrested, and we need to quickly find out how many other homes they sneaked in and if they've murdered other people and if they're still sneaking in homes and still killing people. These are very, very important questions, important to the safety of the public. Okay. And so, and here, and I'm going to get on this here in a minute, but on the left-hand column here, okay, is basically, and I got it wrote out here, the red and green were the former secret police identified by Empire Private Investigations, okay? The red and blue were the police that were seen on the police report from the night of the murder attempt that I didn't get until a few months ago, okay? And then the ones in green are the names that are not even found on the police report that come from Empire Private Investigations. And interestingly, two of them are no longer alive, Mike Naylor and Chad Simpson, and they died within 2 months of each other. So the red is the ones that Empire Private Investigations identified, and they're also found on the police report. Okay, April Chandler, Chadwell, Barrett, Rodriguez, Tony Dickey. Okay, these are the ones found identified by Empire Private Investigations in green, and they are not found on the police report. Okay, Chad Simpson, Greg Nelson, John Woodward, Mark Gilliam, Michael Blake. And as I've told other people, if that private investigator gave me bad names, they could be charged with a crime because this is a capital attempted murder, so they could be charged with falsifying evidence, interfering, obstruction of justice, and they could lose their license, they could go to prison, etc. I'm telling you, I believe the private investigator a lot more than I believe what's on the police report and what the police are saying in this case. And I'm a lifelong supporter of police, but we have some corrupt police here in Midland, Texas. And these four on the bottom, Dylan Hale, Joe Ramirez, Kenny Angel, Matt Davis, they were not identified by the private investigator, but they're listed on the police report as being here. Now, keep in mind that I only paid the private investigator to identify the people that were caught on camera, okay? And so that just says they were here, not caught on camera. And then here are the unit numbers, the police car numbers for the 4 times that I saw police at the church down the alley, which is a half block away, okay? And that's where I started this, talking about the church, okay? And I'm gonna show you these. What we need, somebody that's a legitimate law enforcement to find these unit numbers and go, okay, which officer was in 5108 on this date? And was it one of these guys here? Okay, and was these meetings at this church connected to the crimes and the multiple murders, the underground facilities, the whole show parties, etc. Okay, and so and then the last thing I want to go here is you go to my YouTube channel under Buddy Webb, and I've got all these these videos posted from my dash camera. Police at church, police at church. See the dates? Police at church. Police at church. Okay, that's the 4 different times. And here I'm going to just quickly show you here.
Check this out. 6 police cars at the church here, that's right by my house.
Okay, and so that was in 2015. That was one of the first ones. And I'm not going to go through all these but I want to show you that as I was making Fairmont Church of Christ, seeing all these police cars. Of course, I was shot half a block from here. 5631, parking enforcement. Another police. I don't know which one that one is. Another police car. That's a city police car. Another one and another one. They're having a big old prayer meeting here today. Okay, and here's another one in May of 16. Which is in relatively a half block from my home that somebody tried to murder me in, right? That car is 5108. That truck, community service officer, 5376. This one's 5566. That one's 5368. Okay, so you're getting the point here, right? That where I got them numbers from on that spreadsheet. It looks like he was murdered before I ever moved into my home, and something is that they're coming under. Oh, okay, there we go. That but it looks like there's a couple more here.
I can't get the numbers on them, and there's more here.
But I don't have all of them because I couldn't read them all. There was more police there than I actually have numbers, but I do have a good large group of them. And then I want to show you also, this happened in August 7th, 2016. It was caught on my security camera out back one night, and this is truly amazing here. Real interesting to show you. Here just happened on August 7, 2016, 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas. This is my backyard, the alley. It's right after midnight, 12:41. I'm going to put this in play, and I want y'all to see this, see it just like I seen it. I could actually hear it. If you look, you can see the lights on the fence. You see the lights on the fence over there on the brick wall. And they're bouncing, the cars are moving, it's coming down the alley. Okay, now there's a person running. Look, they're running down the alley. Okay, they're down there at the end, they got their hands in the air like, don't shoot. Did they get hit? I don't know. Something happened, the car gunned it. I could hear them gun it. All right, now they're opening up the trunk, okay? And they shut in the trunk and now they're leaving. This is amazing. I don't know what happened out there. Y'all share this video. Buddy Way at Midland. They put that guy in the trunk under gunpoint. I seen his hands in there. I didn't see their gun, of course, but his hands in the air, both hands in the air like I surrender. So it was obvious they had a gun pointed at him. Then they opened the trunk up and they put him in the trunk and they shut the trunk. And I sent that video to law enforcement. I mean, I bet you there's 100,000 people that's seen that video, but that came from the direction, that guy came running from the direction of that church. I'm going to show you here. Here's the church right here. Here's the alley. This guy had nowhere to go, and that's where they got him, right here behind my house right there under gunpoint. And, there's some very big questions need to be answered here at Midland, Texas. These crimes must stop. These murders must stop. Buddy Webb.